Welcome back. Now that we've gone through the fundamentals of APIs in section 1, we can then get into the fundamentals of API marketplaces. This is where we'll basically set the scene before getting into the core of the topic, which is how to then use these API marketplaces to build the capability required to leverage opportunities presented by the digital economy business landscape. Let's get into it. So what is a marketplace in simplistic terms? It is essentially a place that facilitates the buying and selling of goods between individuals and businesses, where the individual or business could either be a buyer, seller, or both. Internet-driven convergence has driven the facilitation of marketplace processes online, from traditional physical markets to now the buying and exchange of goods happening remotely online. The facilitation of marketplace processes mirrors the online retail of digital goods such as music and video, a process where there's no exchange of physical goods, just access to pieces of software that control sound, visuals, and a combination of both. So an API marketplace is exactly that, an online marketplace where the retail of pieces of software happens. API marketplaces tend to be confused with developer portals, which is why developers are the first parties to be mentioned when talking about API marketplaces. Don't let this put you off if you are not a techie or developer. There's just been a bit of short sight in the messaging around the positioning of API marketplaces in the market. Fruitful innovation requires a fail-fast approach, and during this process, effective cost management of the prototype to solution process is key. Understanding the fundamentals of API marketplaces and how they work is key to a digital product manager, commercial manager, non-tech innovator, or product designer's ability to develop cost-effective digital solutions and products and services with sound underlying business principles. The management of component building and sourcing in building a digital solution drives the outcome, which could either be a good profitability model with good margins or a business case that suddenly becomes unfeasible after lengthy and costly innovation and prototyping processes. Bearing this in mind, let's now spend some time going through the various types of parties and entities that typically interact while using these marketplaces. Developers are typically fluid in the process of engaging marketplaces to source components or functionality they seek in the process of building digital solutions. The fundamental driver in this process is avoiding reinventing the wheel to save time. Developers can be both buyers and sellers on these markets. One developer that has expertise in integrating with a particular platform may develop and list a list of APIs on the market to make some cash, and at the same time source APIs for a digital solution they may be building on a platform they are perhaps less acquainted with, which is so widely popular that there's a whole library of APIs available to leverage. Small technology businesses that build digital solutions for clients or deploy a lot of software as a service platforms are an extension of the developer as a buyer and seller in API marketplaces as well. Typically, architects and developers in these companies will engage in ideation or solution development workshops where they discuss topics such as open source options for certain components and so forth. This is where the proposed use of specific APIs and potential marketplaces to source them might take place. Conversations around API marketplaces typically happen at technology team level in large corporations. The drawback here is that it forces the process to be that where API marketplaces are mainly drivers of incremental technology optimization, as opposed to drivers of new venture ideation and innovation. The common denominator in the success of technology platform businesses such as ride-hailing or food delivery businesses is the ability to harness digital technology to create value for consumers by saving time, a finite resource, through the simplification of tedious but necessary day-to-day life processes. Exploring pieces of software with functionality or capability on an already existing platform to do something else can perhaps spark an idea that can be developed into a massive market opportunity. This opportunity can be lost if one has to rely on developers to determine that a specific set of APIs offer capability that can lead to great market or industry opportunities. The lens is also different. Their lens tends to mostly be about searching for specific integration functionality that can help them reduce complexity and save time in developing a specific solution, as opposed to looking for innovation opportunities. Organizations can also sell APIs on the market to retail software functionality developed to enable a market opportunity that no longer exists, but pieces of which can serve other businesses that are building something different. These pieces of functionality can involve complex integration to market-relevant platforms. Now, let's get into the types of API marketplaces. The typical marketplace is a shared revenue marketplace that works similarly to e-commerce distribution platforms, where you've got different users selling their wares on the same platform to take advantage of economies of scale. You can pretty much call this model the Amazon store of APIs, where you can find any type of API from truckloads of users. The platform owner just facilitates the purchasing, access, and usage of these APIs. Users can post the same type of API and compete for customers. Customers who want to access these APIs basically come to one place where they can see reviews and make an informed decision about which API will work best for them for the budget they have available. They can also get regular updates of new APIs that become available, a feature which may be quite useful for invention or innovation-driven individuals and businesses. Anyone that has an API to publish for online retail can list on these platforms and access the platform customer base. The marketplace owner will obviously take a percentage of every sale and give the rest to the API publisher. Users who want to access these KPIs can either pay for a particular API or subscribe to get access to different catalogs of APIs. It all depends on how the marketplace owner has configured e-commerce capability on the marketplace. This greatly depends on what they view to be the best configuration to attract and retain customers and make it easier for them to use the marketplace from an experience and perhaps affordability perspective. The winning KPI for these marketplaces is the extent of the scale of the platform and associated customer base. Publishers are attracted by the potential size of the market they can create for themselves based on the size of the customer base in terms of numbers and reach. It's quite attractive to know that one's API can be used to build solutions by millions of developers or truckloads of organizations and businesses around the world. The marketplace owners, on the other hand, want a healthy and attractive catalog to attract customers and build a large enough customer base from which to generate revenue consistently to support the costs of running the platform, as well as to make a healthy profit. Another type of API marketplace is a closed group marketplace where access is limited to a particular group of people or organizations. we will go through 3 types of these closed group marketplaces. The first type is the internal organizational marketplace, which is more of a shared resource platform and typically doesn't contain any e-commerce capability as a feature of the marketplace. A common characteristic of large organizations is that there are typically multiple teams developing capabilities for different technological platforms the organization uses either to push its products to the market or to manage its internal operations, or both. The partner model is essentially the internal marketplace extended to partners. These partners might be vendors of platforms or solutions the organization has sourced to build some of its internal digital capability enablement. Teams from both the organization as well as its partners can develop different APIs to be able to integrate their works with different platforms. Each team will then publish these APIs on the internal marketplace so that the other teams can reuse these APIs should they need to. Lastly, we tackle closed group marketplaces. This is mainly useful for group organizations that have a number of entities whose products and services are either vertically integrated or they have some other strategic reason for managing and accessing the same customer base. One way of managing complexity in these organizations is the use of a data model where they have libraries of data marts as well as a library of algorithms to access and use this data. Another way is to host an API marketplace to access data or functions from platforms spread across the organization, as well as its partners and entities. A combination of both these approaches can work very well if the organization has internal capability to manage the strategic ideation to technical execution process for strategic customer value and customer support management, as well as internal operations enablement management. The sad thing is that most organizations think they do, until 2 teams each engage 2 different vendors to each source 2 pieces of software that on the surface look different but fundamentally have the same functionality, only to find after this that the software functionality was already built by another team and actually exists and works well, with no need for long-term revenue-guzzling maintenance contracts with vendors. That's when you know that this organization can't actually manage the strategic ideation to technical execution process. If you're now realizing that your organization needs help in this regard, get in touch with us to help you build this capability, contextualized to the needs of your organization. We have a model that helps organizations cut costs and restructure through optimizing the ideation to execution process. Let's now talk about aggregator API marketplaces. The fundamental characteristic of this type of API marketplace is that publishers can access other publishers' APIs, use these to build different value construct APIs, and then list these for consumption and use on the same marketplace. So users and customers can take various shapes and forms while interacting in the marketplace. There's publishers who publish APIs. You have users or customers that buy these APIs as published by the original author. You have users that access these APIs and use these to build different types of APIs and publish these on the marketplace. And you have users that buy these modified APIs to use for their own projects to build something else. So in this instance, you have users that take APIs already published in the marketplace to create other APIs that can also be accessed on the platform, and this can be categorized where the API is used to build value constructs for users to build different categories of applications or platforms. Every publisher who creates value on the platform gets a share of the revenue after the marketplace owner takes their share. This can take many shapes depending on how the marketplace owner chooses to shape the revenue proposition. But the most intuitive is that publishers who use other publishers' APIs to build a different value construct API follow the same payment model as any customer would with the same usage terms and conditions. The new value construct API would also follow the same process. We're now going to tackle how an API marketplace works in fundamental terms, as well as the components involved in the process of using the marketplace. There may be variations that work differently,